creating wealthier women and multifamily real estate to give to humanity without limits. Welcome to Ladies Night with Steph Doblosky. Today, I am so excited to be able to introduce to you Maricela Soberanes. She is the author of 2 really great books on Amazon right now, and she is an immigrant from Mexico. She's a medical naval officer, a now veteran, and she's the founder of UpPlex multifamily investments. And she has a huge heart. She's always giving her time to education, and she is an apartment investor and wealth building coach, and she is the GP on 1,750 apartments. Please welcome Maricela Soberanes.
I love the energy in the room. Thanks for the very kind introduction. You definitely make it look very glamorous, but it's just me and I'm down to earth and I'm just, one of us. So here we are. And if there's anything, I would like to hear the questions because I want to make sure that I am serving that community. Anybody that is spending the time and gifting us that precious gift, we want to make sure that we give you back in any ways we can. Otherwise, we will share. And where do you want me to start?
Well, I think the first question I wanted to ask you is, what is your why and how did you get into multifamily?
Well, I will say, I will explain how I got into multifamily because that's a little bit of a longer story, but I will make it short for the purpose of giving time. The way I started in real estate is it was just purely by looking for a place to live for my own. I started with a duplex in 2006 in Austin, Texas. And I was living in one side, renting the other side. Then when I went to grad school, I rented out both sides. And that kind of gave me the idea of what somebody else is paying for the mortgage, somebody else is living there, and I'm able to carry on my life. And when I graduated, I came back to Austin, Texas, and I was able to pay that off, which was one of the biggest mistakes. For most people, we're like, oh yeah, that's awesome, paid off, but not eliminating leverage in your biggest partner when it comes to investing and wanted to grow your investment portfolio. So then I joined the Navy, and while I was deployed, I learned more about how to use the real estate to build wealth, and that allowed me to save my money. And when I came back from overseas, I was able to purchase more units. At that point, I was thinking bigger than a house was a fourplex, and I got into 2 fourplexes back to back. And then shortly after that, in 2017, I met my husband, which was my very first thinking or even saying out loud, hey, this is my plan. What do you think? Like I didn't never have a community like this, a mentor. I just was doing it all by myself, and that's mistake number 2. I hope you're taking notes so that we can eliminate those and we can get you up to speed in no time. But so that was pretty much how we were able to scale our portfolio. We got up to 35 rental units. In 2020, we purchased our last acquisition, which was a fourplex. And we've used several techniques. We did a line of credit. We did a business line of credit. Sorry, it's a little loud in here. But the only thing that I would say we haven't purposefully done is flips. And the reason why is because of being an anesthesia provider, I am at a high level of taxation. So we didn't want it to bring any more income that was going to be recognized by the IRS as a taxable income. So we ended up doing buy and hold. That was the majority of our plan. And eventually when we started disposing or selling those units in 2020, we diversified to keep the cash flow, because at that point we were clearing about $360,000 a year on the rental portfolio, but then we wanted to scale. And that's when we discovered masterminds. We actually pay for mentorship to help us teach us how to underwrite, how to take larger complexes and average other people's at that point experience, capital, and work together with larger groups. So that's that's kind of the fast track of how we got into it. First, we started investing passively as a limited partners just to get to know different teams and how they work in different markets, different type of assets. We invested in all the way from A to D plus, and we got to see different strategies on how you can actually do come ahead if you choose your team wisely and your property and market wisely. So we are still invested passively on that aspect, but then we started getting into the general partnership, which is the active portion of the syndication model. And we have since closed the 9 deals, and we also diversified to acquire mobile home parks and self-storages. We have 2 self-storages and 3 mobile home parks. And we also do private lending. We've done notes. We have 5 notes, and that was a way for us to keep the cash flow, because most people, when they're going into syndications, the syndications, especially these days, are not paying immediately, mostly 6 to 9 months, sometimes up to a year before you see any cash flow.
What is an example of you overcoming adversity? And as a woman, what is a tool or strategy that should be taken very seriously in any business?
So I don't know if I mentioned that when I came to the States, I was 23 years old. So I was old enough to, have my own difficulties that I had to face by myself. My family was not with me, it was just me. And so talking about adversity and overcoming it, it's definitely one thing that I wouldn't say I'm the expert. I would say that I have faced quite a bit of them. And then because of the careers I choose to go into, anesthesia provider, most of them are male, physicians or providers. And the military, being a naval officer coming at a higher rank because I came with my education and my experience, I also faced quite a bit of challenge with people that have been in the military for 10, 20 years, and they still had a lower rank than me. So that was definitely something that it was highlighted earlier in my career. However, the strategies that I would say share, and it still carries on to the multifamily specifically, because most multifamily syndicators are male, especially one color. I'm gonna be honest. So when a woman of minority and of color wants to negotiate or ask simple questions, we're definitely faced with that. Door sometimes is closed, and I don't really like to play that part when it comes to business. But that is the reality. I'm sure most of you have encountered that. So the way that I overcome those obstacles is being prepared, being knowledgeable, engaging your team. As a woman, I might be the one requesting the information, but I'm not the only one that is going to fund that deal. Same thing in the military. I'm the one delivering the order, the message, but there's somebody above that is mandating even me. So always putting layers in between you and the immediate person of product. And then also using leveraging who is in your team or in your command or in your, if you're talking military, make sure that you're engaged in that. It's not me, I'm merely trying to serve. And for example, when in the hospital, when I work, I usually work at different places. So I can be a new person every 3 months in a new environment. So nobody knows me and I have to prove myself. Hey, I'm here and I'm going to practice safely. So my goal, so you have to identify your goal. So my goal is to get this patient asleep, comfortable, and awake safely. So as long as everybody's in the same goal, there should be no personalities. There should be the weather is hot or whatever. That is irrelevant to the goal and the mission. So when you establish that goal upfront and open, let's suppose you're closing an authentication or you are on the right, the goal is to get this to a closing table. So let's leave the personalities away. Let's focus on what the main goal is. And when you remove all those obstacles, I believe that you'll be taken seriously. No long ago, one of our partners, there were 2 calls. One of the calls was like, "Oh, you look very nice today." Although most times they're like, "Oh, well, thank you." I don't care to hear whether I look nice or not. My intelligence level didn't drop because I put lipstick on or it went up, right? The other call, the next call was like, "Oh my God, did you not put makeup on?" And that's when I have to write that email. Seriously, do I comment on what you're wearing or how you smell or whatever? What your performance bring or what you bring to the table is irrelevant to how your hair is. So when you remove all those layers of, hey, this is you criticizing the person on the other side that is going to make a decision. And again, the level of intelligence or experience did not change. So if you can eliminate those conversations, so don't take it for a, hey, that's good, that's awesome, it made me feel good today. And maybe that comes from the military saying, I don't bring my feelings to work. So if you bring your feelings to work, you are putting them at risk.
Yeah, that's very good advice. And I notice in my background as an engineer, I'm always swarmed by men all day long, and they just have a different way of thinking and doing things. And it's true, you could sit at the table and not necessarily get the same kind of interest that everyone else is. And just by clarifying goals, like you said, I have noticed, like you get things done, and it's like, okay, we're at equal level now. I don't know what it is about that, but I have noticed that is something that works. What mentorships are you in that you've paid for so far?
So the first mastermind that we joined was a very generic, all-included real estate investment. It's called the W2 Capitalist by a good friend of us now. And that was one of actually we were totaling how much business we've done within that mastermind, and we have about $1.5 million invested within that community. So when we join a community, we also tend to bring our own business to elevate everybody. So that was our first paid mentorship. The other one is by Brad Sombrock, and he's one of our big mentors. He's the one that taught us how to underwrite and take that a deal to a closing, and then managing and beyond. And our third one is Grant Cardone, which we are part of the club now for a second year. We just signed up for a 10-year commitment with them. We are licensees. We're all in with him and his team. And the reason why we like those three, the first one is because they just open our eyes to new people coming in, and they don't know where to go. They just know that real estate is a way to get ahead. So we like to take that fresh mind and different backgrounds. Some people have the business, some people just getting started, some have made some mistakes, but they're willing to now be in a community that's going to help them get ahead. And Sunbrook, we love that community because we get continuous access to coaches. So if you're underwriting deals right now, everything is changing by the week sometimes. So if you're not in tune with that continuous access to coaches, you might be paying a membership with somebody that did a deal last year or the year before, or they did 1 or 2 deals a year, because that's realistically probably what most people can do because of the amount of time it takes. But the coaches and the Sombra community have a large amount of people that are doing deals. Therefore, they kind of stay at the very top of the market and of the new practices. So that's what we like. The reason why we like Grant Cardone is because his mindset is just overwhelmingly large. Like, he just forces you to go above and beyond of what you think you're capable of. And then he backs it up with a team that is trained and is ready for their, like, we have put a lot of time and money invested in training ourselves through the team. So I hope I answered your questions. Those are the 3 mentorships that we paid, and which mostly within Cardone and Brad Sombra, we are at the top tier of the proximity to the mentorship. We have mastermind access to both of them.
And what do you think with self-storage versus multifamily? What are the problems with the self-storage over multifamily and vice versa?
The problem with self-storage is too much cash flow. I don't know what to do with it. So, right, a good problem.
I love this problem.
I know, right? So the cash flow from the self-storage in mobile home parks is definitely higher. We are seeing 12 to 14%. Some of them are 16% compared to we were offering 8 to 10% over the summer for the syndications, and this last syndication we offered 5%. So definitely a higher cash flow. And as far as the tax breaks, definitely getting better tax breaks with the multifamily. And as far as the capital expenditures is definitely lower, and the self-storages, they have the infrastructure built. There's really not a whole lot of capex. So When you're doing a co-segregation, you're not going to get a whole lot of breaks from the self-storage because the land doesn't depreciate only in the building. And since you're not doing a lot of renovation, it's very minimum what you get as a co-segregation for a tax accelerator.
What are your criteria with evaluating the team or who you want to partner with?
Awesome. Yes, we actually get that question a lot. The first I would say the first things that we looked at is the character of the person. We want to make sure that we are aligned in our goals. We want to make sure that they are in our community in some way. You know, we have a lot of events we put together. So if the person is present, we're probably going to notice them faster and better. And the level of experience, it really doesn't matter. I believe that, you know, like we say, kids grow up. So everybody, we all started at one point, like, you know, maybe a little bit of crawling before we walk. And then next thing we know, we're all growing up. And that's ultimately what we want. So I will say if you want to join any team, really, you should put yourself out there. For us, again, the alignment of the goals that you want to collaborate, and we want to know who have you gone lending wise. Are you signing any loans? Are the deals performing? What is your contribution to the team? You know, what kind of experience you have? Every aspect that we looked at as a partner is because we probably have been burned in one way or another. It might be a little challenging sometimes to say, let's move forward. But that is because we have been in a position where we didn't ask those questions and then we have to live with the consequences, or we have to pivot and advance. And that sometimes either sets you behind or costs a lot of time. And the worst thing is cost your reputation. So we definitely evaluate that as a whole person. But we have been able to help 11 new general partners to get their first deal. And to us means a lot because that's one of the, I think you asked earlier, one is to continue to mentor others to achieve what we have achieved, help them. Like we want to be the bridge to people. We already gone through the building, we already gone through the logistics. So we want that accelerate. In fact, when we talk to especially younger people that want to be mentored and they want to do the things that we are doing, we expect them to bypass those because if they have that time on their favor, they should, right? If they're using our knowledge and they're using our experience the way it should be, there's no reason why they should be below us. You know, we expect those kids to grow up.
I think that's just really awesome. If anybody wants to be mentored by you, is there like a specific process or a website to go to?
We offer the platform that he offers to train with the Cardone University. And then in addition to that, we do have a one-on-one coaching and group coaching. And then the higher tier is that we want to do a deal together. And we pretty much are aligning to that, to go in that direction. I'm an entrepreneur by heart. I'm always looking to see how can I control my time and my income. So right now I have been working. Actually, I haven't been practicing at the hospital, which is my primary job, since November. So over a year since I haven't been at the hospital, and I haven't missed a penny. And that is because the sources of income that we have created through the real estate.
What is your recharge routine?
So how do I recharge? We love to travel and travel for fun. It's a blend. So we incorporate fun, family. We want to stay more overseas, and that definitely gets that connection with the locals, living through other ways of living or doing things. Recently, we have been in Mexico and Colombia, and it's just a reminder how much freedom we have. Like we lose temper because our connection is a little slow, right? And there's somebody there that is struggling to make their means to put on the table for their kids. And being in that specific environment, when you get to see that the humans operate, it just puts everything else into perspective, and it's definitely a charging time.
Do you also go into a team to purchase self-storage?
Yes, and the first self-storages that we have, it's actually one partnership that we continue to acquire. Now we are listed in other teams. We've been in contact with another team that they're mostly up in the cold weather, and we wanted to stay a little more in Texas, especially because we are acquiring more there. But if anybody here is on the writing, we are open to forming that team. So let's go.
I love it. The other question I had for you is more back to optimizing workflow and standard operating procedures. I know that you also have a lot of trained virtual assistants now at your disposal. And how do you really use those standard operating procedures to help your business grow through virtual assistants?
Man, I'm gonna let you in a lot of back of the system secrets. So keep it secret, okay, guys? Let me see how well is here. Oh my goodness. Okay, it's okay. So if I text any of you or if I make a comment in the social media, please know it's me. And all of you that are here, okay, it's me. However, we do have hired assistants that help us manage a lot of those activities that are needed for you to be present in social media and other channels that are going to be building your presence. People want to feel confident, comfortable with you. So right. And to tell you the truth, there's not a lot of time, thousands of my friends and Facebook, right? So a lot of those tasks are delegated. Sorry, guys, there's something loud here. If you have a chat and people want to connect with you, we have systems in place that if somebody say, "Hey, Maricela, I want this," I had this question for you. Most of them are either already, like I would say, we have a template to answer, and or we have a way so that they can align all of the questions, and all I do is do an hour of answering questions, and then they do the rest, which means sending the email, sending the follow-up, scheduling calls, all of that stuff is already in place. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry, guys. Can you hear okay? Is better? Okay.
That is
Yeah,
better.
Yeah, they were. They think that they own this business. Oh, wait a minute, they do. So yeah, definitely for us being able to find more partnerships, find more deals, find other sources of businesses have been because we are able to let go of some of those tasks. And when we first came into this community of syndication, coming from doing it all by ourselves, we were self-managing our 35 doors. We definitely knew that we could not possibly, handle a portfolio this big without having not only our team, because in the syndication, as you know, there's at least 3 or 4, maybe 6 people that are going to be dividing the work. But UpPlex as our company, we have our own team. So we are in 8 deals at least that we are playing a big part of day-to-day operation. We do it, master it, and then delegate. So that is actually, I would say, the secret to being able to get more deals done, to get to perform better. And one of the things that I will say, would you recommend yourself as a partner, as a spouse, as a syndicator, as an investor? Would you recommend that yourself? And that's one of the things that we can continuously ask ourselves. That was a different version before we actually hear that quote. We used to say, when dealing with, let's suppose that we're closing and we're raising capital and things are very stressful and there's a lot of things that need to happen, and we always took it back to, is this a conversation that we can have in the celebratory dinner at the table? To, again, put it into perspective to say, well, maybe I shouldn't say it in that mode, right? And that just keeps us monitored. But that's the same kind of tone of training that we use with our VAs. And reality is that if I have to do 20 things, I'm probably going to rush in 1 or 2, maybe 10, but if I'm delegating that, I'm hopefully serving better by truly focusing my energy and the things that matter the most, entering the data in your CRM, creating your newsletter. That can be done by somebody else that you train. At the beginning, it's going to take a lot of time. But then once that you have those systems in place, man, you're in control of your own time. So that to us, being in control of what we can handle and what we want to handle was one of the biggest reasons why we wanted to scale to have more doors. Otherwise, we would keep our 35 doors and be happy with our 380 a year, right? Nothing wrong with that. But because we decided to come and play big, we also want to bring the team that is going to help us play bigger and also perform. So yeah. I will say I'm going to add another thing on this, the SOPs in creating systems. most people, when we first start coming into a business that is no cash flowing, remember we talked about the cash flowing of the syndications don't happen, or SOPs, standard operating procedures. And that comes, I think, from the military or the stigmas, the type of training, that is structured systems and put in place so everybody knows and is aware on what the processes are. So the other thing I want to invite you to think about is when you're creating your CRM, think about how much money you're going to get out of that. I mean, we've raised millions of dollars just by having that documented system, having that documentation of communication back and forth, SEC mandates, the communication and established relationship, so that's definitely an investment. And the other thing I was going to mention was that most people, when we come to this business, we think that we can and we should be doing it all by ourselves. But in reality, the more you can delegate, the more you can actually enjoy the process. And reality is that better probably is gonna get done. Because I'm telling you, I was like, oh yeah, I'll send that email tomorrow. And then next thing you know, it's a week before we make contact and nobody remembers meeting me a week ago. Or attention span is so small, right? So definitely it's an investment on the business that you're creating, but it's definitely going to pay off.
So besides delegating with VAs, CRM, and coming up with procedures to document those, when you're first starting your business, is there any other standard operating procedures that you feel like are needed besides those basics?
Yes. So I think I'm going to gear your question towards, when you're first growing the business and you're coming in, and we hear this from a lot of people, hey, I'm just getting started. I don't know. I'm not underwriting yet. I don't have the tools, but I know I can capital raise, but I know that I don't have the time. The amount of time that they have is divided. Like, should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? Which one should I focus on? So what I will say you could do all. And and it all depends on what you have as far as do you have a pool of investors that you can activate. Start gripping the content on that direction, and at the same time get on the call so that you can be familiarizing yourself with the vocabulary. So, and the other thing is, like I would say, and this was another mastermind what I hear. If you were to start a business today, and again, this is a very individualized answer that you're going to have to provide for yourself. I'll be 48 years old in a couple months. So for me to try a new business, I'm going to give it 2-3 months max, and then moving on. If that deal didn't work out, if that business didn't work out, I'm going to move on to the next thing. So if I start underwriting and I'm like, oh my God, I can't get that thing, I'm not making any progress, move on to the next thing. Go in and start building your educational platform so that you can educate. Go on and start speaking in different places. Still try different things. You see people that have been underwriting for 9 to 10 months and they haven't get a deal. Well, guess what? Now you're behind on everything else. So, I mean, if you're a 19-year-old getting started, sure, go and try for a year. You have plenty of time. I don't have that. So evaluate what you have and give it a try. Give it a good try. Don't just try for a week and be like, oh, nobody calls me back. Well, that's not enough time, right? So I would say for us, we give it 3 months, a newsletter. You're going to write a newsletter, give it a three volumes, get feedback from your audience, maybe another volume to see what you got. If you look at our newsletter when we first started, it was like, oh, I need help. The content was great, but, so give that a try and then improve. So I would say set up your smarter goals. SMART, we all know the SMART acronym, but make sure that you're evaluating and redirecting your actions. So you don't just keep bouncing your head against a closed door.
Yeah, I really love that.
And see if I can.
I remember you mentioned that last night, and I just want to thank you so much because you're very successful in what you're doing, but you're also very accessible, and you really do have a heart and you want to share. And the fact that you're there and just taking questions for us every Wednesday on Clubhouse is very much appreciated, and that you're giving out so much free content for everyone on YouTube to see is very commendable and very much appreciated. So if anyone wants to follow Maricela, please do. She's on YouTube. She gives a lot. And we're just curious here, how did you come up with UpPlex? I know a lot of people have a reason behind their company names, and why did you choose that?
That's a great question. So I created this bag before I had anybody in my team. It was just me and myself. And it was rentals at that point. It was doing the rental, long-term rental. And I wanted a name that reflected what I wanted to be for not only for me, but for others. And at that point, I didn't have investors. So it was for me and for our residents. And I felt like bringing up everybody in a complexity of systems, which at that point was bringing all kinds of housing and different locations. So I felt like UpPlex bringing up that we exist to elevate you. That's our slogan. And then a complexity of processes that continue to grow. So right now we do private lending, multifamily, we do coaching, we do branding, marketing, the agency for the VA. So it definitely has grown into a bigger animal than I ever imagined. But that was the beginning idea of elevate others and whatever degree that we encounter. So whether you are an investor or a resident or a partner, we want to elevate you in any ways that we can. And we also, another part of our big audacious goal is to continue to conduct, because we have conducted now a couple of medical missions and community outreaches to mostly third country kind of places. My big dream is to bring a community outreach to where I was born, and a very small town in Mexico, where there's hardly, right now they have roads, but they used to be, you have to walk 6 hours to get to where my grandma used to live. So
It's really beautiful. I love your heart. You're very much appreciated. Thank you, everyone, for coming. We had some technical difficulties today, and that is okay, because sometimes that's just what happens. So we're just going to embrace it. Thanks for watching Ladies Night with me, Steph Doblosky. I create wealthier women by providing exclusive access to private equity commercial real estate investments. If you're interested, check out my contact details in the description below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you next time.